Hello, my name is Alicia Jericho from Queen's University of Charlotte, and today I will be discussing introducing ethics to the game of political campaigns. This presentation attempts to define ethical behavior in political campaigns and looks at the implications of the current unethical standards by which political campaigns are run. The articles examined by Banker 1992, Cohen 2009, Johnstone 1995, Martinson 2009, and Misra 2015 discuss the many uses of rhetoric in political campaigns and the implications of disseminating unethical information to the masses for the purpose of winning a political race. The presentation will also include the recommendation to apply a codes, procedures, and standards approach to communication ethics to address and correct this communication ethics issue. The scholarly articles reviewed for this paper discuss the role rhetoric plays in the political process as well as the resulting adverse effects. According to Banker, the evidence is clear that in the nation where the marketing candidates most prevalent, America, the citizens are more cynical. Unethical campaigns can negatively affect the political climate by reinforcing cynicism and intensifying negative feelings about the government, which can backfire on officials once they are elected. Campaign communications include advertising, debates, social media correspondence, and appearances. The 2016 presidential race is a prime example of candidates who have consistently chosen to breach the boundaries of ethics. We will examine the various ways in which manipulative rhetorical tactics used in political campaigns negatively affect the process. The importance of ethical guidelines is clear in that without ethical norms, government officials would have no uniform standard to guide them in the performance of official duties. So how does one remain ethical in politics? Political representatives are obligated to be ethical. This can be achieved by keeping the focus on the dissemination of accurate information, and according to Martinson, an ethical political communication is one that provides receivers with true and useful information that will assist them in making up their minds. To be ethical, one must only act with integrity and good character. So, why do politicians incorporate unethical practices into their campaign? One reason is that the pressure to win is too great. There is only one winner. Also is the issue of free speech. In our haste to protect the right of free speech, we have limited our scope to censor these unethical practices, opening the door for continued unethical communications, including name-calling, personal attacks, and distribution of misinformation. The problem becomes an issue because from a rhetorical perspective, language creates reality. When one political candidate is attacked personally, this becomes their reality. The candidate may then choose to fight back, playing into the unethical behavior, therefore becoming part of the problem. According to Littlejohn and Foss, rhetoric embodies the values of the culture found in the tyrannizing image and seeks to make skillful use of language to promote those values and the culture's ultimate idea of truth. Unfortunately, rhetoric can also be used in the service of evil, as when it is used to dominate, exploit, and mislead, or to promote the selfish interest of the speaker. One cannot discuss political campaigns without first discussing public relations. According to Martinson, public relations truth is defined as misinformation. Public relations truth is too frequently the main characteristic of much contemporary political communication, particularly campaign advertising. It is a standard operating procedure for each political candidate to do their due diligence and hire who they foresee as the best political consultant for their message. The problem with this is that political consultants do not inconvenience themselves with the responsibility the candidate has to be a moral and upstanding citizen. Political consultants are spin experts who often subvert truth and contextually relevant information by using traditional propaganda techniques to win votes. What constitutes unethical political communication? According to Johnstone, whatever retards, subverts, or circumvents the process of intelligent collective decision-making is unethical. Negative or deceptive communication can take place in the form of advertising, social media posts, during debates, as well as public appearances. An example of negative communication is an ad hominem attack, a form of fallacious reasoning, the argument that an opponent has distracted attention from the true issue or issues by making irrelevant personal attacks. The following clip is an example of an ad hominem attack. This is a personal attack against Ted Cruz, accusing him of being dishonest on all topics.
Many just call him Lyin' Ted. Lied about Ben Carson to steal a win in Iowa. Lies about being the best for the GOP when polls show he can't even beat Hillary Clinton. His TV ad about John Kasich? Lie. Stations had to pull it off the air. If Ted Cruz's mouth is moving, he's lying.
New Day Independent Media Committee, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
The next clip shows Donald Trump in a televised debate addressing Marco Rubio about a comment he made about the size of his hands. This is a clear example of an ad hominem where both political candidates have veered off the topic of issues and are discussing something completely irrelevant.
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee.
Obviously, the particular size of a candidate's anatomy has no bearing on their ability to perform official duties unless, of course, one is talking about brain size. Misinformation can also come in the form of misrepresentation of a candidate's record by taking his or her statements or votes out of context. According to Misra, it has been estimated that in the 2010 midterm election campaign, more than 90% of voters encountered information they deemed misleading or false, making it near impossible for the voting public to make an intelligent decision. One could then hypothesize that misinformation is a blatant attempt to confuse the public. Another factor to consider would be that technology continues to evolve, making it easier for candidates to reach their public. While television commercials were once the main avenue utilized to reach the voting public, this has quickly changed. With the emergence of social media and the fact that there is no cost to send out information to the masses, it appears to have taken center stage in the 2016 presidential election. Social media, including Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat, have played an increasingly large role in the 2016 presidential race, which has allowed candidates direct access to their supporters, non-supporters, as well as the much-coveted undecided voters. With little to no stipulations regarding what can be posted on social media, the temptation to post unethical content has been too great for some candidates to bear. In a Twitter post made by Donald Trump on March 22, 2016, he writes, "Lion Ted Cruz just used a picture of Melania from a GQ shoot in his ad. Be careful, Lion Ted, or I will spill the beans on your wife." In a single post, Mr. Trump managed to name-call and threaten another candidate's wife. To be fair, Mr. Trump does not discriminate when it comes to verbally assaulting others via social media, as seen when he takes aim at Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton in a Twitter post made on March 17, 2016, where he writes, "Hillary Clinton has been involved in corruption for most of her professional life." Here, Mr. Trump makes a blanket statement about another candidate without offering a shred of proof to back his claim. Ted Cruz is not to be left out of the unethical political communication game. In the next clip, during an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel, he jokes about running over Donald Trump.
If I were in my car and getting ready to reverse and saw Donald in the backup camera, I'm not confident which pedal I'd put.
In conclusion, it is clear that the problem of unethical communication in political campaigns continues to grow. There does not appear to be an end in sight to the use of negativity in political campaigns, which threatens to pose a danger to the entire political process. Those that are charged with the duty of making laws and representing the masses need to be held accountable for their actions. A fair system is needed to address the issue, including corrective action, if necessary. Where are we now on this issue? It has been documented that the courts have refused to take action on the matter of blatant lies in political campaigns. As Ransom reports, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court tossed out a state law that made it illegal to lie in political campaign material, calling it inconsistent with the fundamental right of free speech. The court followed up by stating in their decision that citizenry, not government, should be the monitor of falseness in the political arena, setting the precedent for other courts to take no action in similar cases addressing this issue. As stated by Misra, the First Amendment considerations indicate that the Federal Trade Commission will not be mandating corrective advertising for deceptive political ads anytime soon, despite concerns. Therefore, it is up to we, the people, to demand change. In addition to this, there are no formal rules or laws to address unethical behavior in political campaigns. Political candidates have proven that they cannot be trusted to behave ethically. Essentially, the job has been left to the press and the public to discern. This is done by a certain sector of society known as an ad watch. According to Misra, ad watches are a collaborative effort between the media and academics that attempt to analyze and discuss political advertising and could play an important role in reducing the effects of deception. But there are problems with an ad watch. They have systematic biases. The seemingly objective press is also highly persuasive, according to Banker. For one thing, they are trying to get consumers to watch their newscast or buy their papers. They also have no real authority to impose sanctions for ethical violations. In spite of these ad watches, the problem of unethical political communication continues to grow. In the interest of forging a fair playing field, this presentation suggests the implementation of the rules and requirements taken loosely from the National Basketball Association rules and penalties to the political campaign process. One reason for choosing the NBA rules as a guide was simply stated by Foyle. There's no buying your way into the NBA with money. You are good enough or you're not, and that is the bottom line. This should be how we, as American citizens, elect our officials to represent us in the important matters that affect our lives. Foyle adds that it is not an unattainable stretch to think that politics might be as just and fair as professional sports. After all, it is a bit more important, as most would agree. By implementing these rules, we are implementing a codes, procedures, and standards approach to communication ethics, which requires defining guidelines according to which appropriate ethical conduct can be evaluated in protecting and promoting the good of this corporately agreed upon set of regulations. As Foyle suggests, to do this, we need a system of rules for playing the game that is fair for everyone, where everyone's voice can be heard. While deciding on a set of rules to apply to politics, the National Football League, Major League Baseball, and National Hockey League rules were found to be overly complicated or confusing. According to Gaines, the NFL rulebook is much like the tax code. It has become too complicated for its own good, and it is time the NFL made some changes. Stark states that many of the rules defy comprehension, not to mention common sense with regard to the MLB rules. The National Hockey League rules are also very complicated, according to Duplessis and Diamond. The rules that were easiest to understand and transfer to politics appear to be the rules associated with the National Basketball Association. They were easy to understand, and there was an effortless transition to politics. As an overview, I have sampled rules to show how they would be used during a debate. A technical foul shall be issued for the following: disrespectfully addressing an official, moderator, or fellow candidate, physically contacting an official, moderator, or fellow candidate, overt actions including resentment to a call made by the official, use of profanity, personal attacking of a candidate or candidate's family, any attempted physical act with no contact involved, taunting, which includes cursing or blaspheming an official, moderator, or fellow candidate shall not be considered the only cause for imposing technical fouls. Running tirades, continuous criticism, or griping may be sufficient cause to assess the technical. Excessive misconduct shall result in the ejection from a debate. The third technical foul will result in a suspension from participation for a specified period of time in the debate. Fines will be imposed on the political candidate for the violations as follows. Recipients of technical fouls or unsportsmanlike conduct will be assessed a $500 fine for the first offense, an additional $500 for the second offense in any one debate, for a minimum total of $1,000. If a player or participant is ejected on the first technical foul for unsportsmanlike conduct, personal attacks, attempted physical confrontation, use of profanity, or a flagrant foul, he or she shall be fined a minimum of $1,000. Whether or not said participants is ejected, a fine not exceeding $35,000 and/or suspension may be imposed upon such participants by the commissioner at his sole discretion. How would the rules help? First of all, they would help alleviate pressure of winning by any means necessary. As the rules would also be mandated for any form of political communication, they would make the politician responsible for all political communication coming from their campaign. And there would be immediate consequences. An example of application of these rules, using one of the examples given in the presentation prior, would be a foul would be called against Donald Trump, who referred to Ted Cruz as lying Ted on social media and for threatening Cruz's wife. The consequence would be that Mr. Trump could in fact have to pay a fine and or suspend any and all social media posts for a specified period of time. Implications. The issue of unethical practices in political campaigns should not continue to be ignored. Failing to address the issue of unethical political practices in campaigns gives politicians consent to continue the behavior. Immediate consequences should motivate politicians to behave ethically, and by giving candidates the same rules and consequences, a fair playing ground is established. Suggestions for future research. To gain a complete understanding of how the implementation of the rules and penalties using the NBA rules and penalties as a guide affect political campaigns, it is necessary to conduct a study to test the effectiveness of the rules. The rules and penalties should be imposed on political campaigns from beginning to end to measure changes in behavior of the candidates during the political campaign process. One would also need to study the benefits of immediate sanctions for violating the rules and requirements by measuring how quickly the candidate's behavior changes from unethical to ethical after each sanction is imposed. Further research on the voting public would also be helpful in determining the public's perception of receiving honest political communication during a presidential race. References. References continued. References continued. Appendix. Appendix continued. Thank you for watching my presentation.